Oh my, that's embarrassing. The headset was muted. Well, welcome to the channel. This is Reliable Rudy. Welcome to the channel. We're going to be doing some live trading. We're in a few trades, still from yesterday. Got everything set up. Now the volume is set. And we will go from here. Before we go into any analysis or any trading, you guys know I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Everything in this video is simply just sharing my opinion. I believe short-term trading is just a big voting machine. I believe in the long run it's a winning machine. Short-term I have votes. Person next to me has a vote. Person next to him has a vote. And it can be very difficult to do. Long-term trading, I believe it's a winning machine. I think indexes, ETFs, you name it, individual holdings, they will trade near its intrinsic value. The time frame for that, it's very tough to tell. So let's go into some trading. AI, we're still just nursing this position. We took a piece off. I wanted to respect these lows, and we were thinking about putting an order off of this, but now that it's kind of wicked into that already, I think it's worth kind of just respecting it. So let's try and get another piece off of this trade. And, it might need the pullback beforehand. We already got a piece off at 38. Direct correlation wick right here, so let's just go right at 38.25. I believe that looks like a reasonable area to take a piece off this trade. And we talked about this yesterday on the live stream early in the day. We got alerted, we took the trade, and obviously we got the breakthrough. This isn't how it works every time, guys. But just trading some key levels, if it showed me it could get through this previous low, holding this support down here looked really good. And we took a couple pieces off as we were getting up into these resistance areas. In the recap later in the day, we had an alert below this wick. Had it triggered us, we would have thought about maybe exiting the position. But obviously, we ended the day kind of strong, and we didn't see any need to cut the position. Now, once we started kind of breaking through some highs early in the day, and we start filling this gap down, we talked about it when we were taking the trade down here, that the dream move is going to be for that gap fill. So we want to hold a piece for that gap fill. And let me make sure I get my order out here off of, it's probably not going to fill. I probably missed my opportunity, but we're going to go off 38.25. And off of that trim, it looks like that's about 570 a share. So yeah, you can't complain. Anytime you're getting 570 a share, you can't complain with that. Now that doesn't mean that it's going to be like that every time. But we were yes, Hal, I see you are in the chat. BMR, yeah, I was taking a look at it. I actually seen it when it was kind of testing this previous low right here. Got some nice volume increase. Let's see if it can give us some sort of present an entry for us. It might not. It might just want to blast higher. Who knows? Looking at the daily, nice candle coming in. Obviously, still holding positive strength. I'm just gonna stay away from that for right now, and I'm gonna focus on continuing to nurse this AI position. And we are in a new one of GNS. Nothing crazy. We got a couple fills down here at 104, and we were trying to get a 102, but weren't able to get that 102. Honestly, if it were to give up this 103, I would see this probably coming to the downside. We got the 50-day at 112, and if this is some sort of retracement, we have some correlating resistance that's building up in there potentially. So we're going to keep this one on watch. And I'm actually just going to put an alert to the downside just in case we're not on the bid at 102, just small size here. Hoth, I think at the end of the day, you're still going to see some sort of descending channel right here. Whether this is set accurate or not, it's tough to say. Could be a descending wedge, I don't know. But that's how I got set up. Some of these key levels that we have marked, we marked these tops. Let's go to a daily. and we can take a look at Hoth. So I simply just marked this low from over here, the wick tops, the little low right here, not much, but that's 425 give or take, the previous high. So looking at how that's kind of matched up, this one, could be drawn through all the ways through these tops as well. So I'd say some clear resistance at 425. These big gappers and high volume movers, I just don't have as much luck trading them. When I do have luck trading them, is when they are potentially showing me a downtrend and it holds and just trades sideways, and then potentially like right here is where I like taking the trade. So that's why I like having a little bit more information on these. I tried it early in the day just because I thought it was potential that I could hold this. I was already telling myself, hey, 325 is a potential area where this could drop to. But it's just not a trade for me until it can show me that it breaks through this downtrend. I'm not interested in a 10 or 20% or cent pop. That just has no interest to me. I think the risk is a lot further to the downside. So that's why I'm just going to stay away from it. That's my opinion on Hoth. But AI, we're just going to keep nursing this. We're on the ask at 25s. We're going to see if we can get a fill there. And if we can get a fill, I'm all for it. Invax, we talked about this on the live stream yesterday. We said we're going to be putting a stop underneath these wicks. We got stopped out on the last candle, and it was a good stop out. Looking more at some more live trading. We are going to keep an eye on this G and S. But now that we've kind of got a little bit of a recap, let's pull over the Twitter for today. And we did get a fill on BNS. This is a new position for me, thinking long term here. Support at 49. It's got a gap at 48.76. If it wanted to break 49, I would have tried it probably. I think your downside, you have 47. You have an uptrend and some support built in, and you have a 43.30 gap. So size accordingly. I'm looking to build this position for a long-term play. So let's go take a look at BNS. BNS. Up, click the wrong one. There we go. So we were watching it pretty intensely at this 49, and once this candle started claiming 49, we actually tried marketing in at 49.06, and we get a 49.09 fill. Not interested in selling any small pops here. I think that the longer term picture is that we've been really patient with this one. It's been on our watch for a while. This uptrend that we have right here is probably drawn for a monthly chart. All we did was wanted to connect these wicks. So this is where I'd say your uptrend is probably at around that 47, which I think this is a really strong uptrend that it has. Early to the ball game, I think your true breakout price on this name is probably going to be like 55. Early entries, I think early entry is a good way to put this, but I'd say 51 is probably going to be some tough resistance that it's going to have to break through. And looking at it more clearly, probably 52. And you probably have some resistance right here off this gap fill as well. So call it a 50-25, give or take. But just an early entry. Nothing crazy. We're not looking at adding too much size to it. As here's the 48 gap that we talked about. Playing the early stages before this dividend. I don't like building new positions in here on a dividend play. I think there's too much chop, too much what ifs, too much short-term trading that comes into play. I'm more so interested a month, maybe even before in advance. But I do like the confirmed higher low on this name, and more importantly, just how it's held over top of this gap. So we fill the gap, we get the gap up, we retrace, we fill this gap, and now we're getting higher lows put in. I just like the setup on this, and I think that it can run and potentially get some upside movement. So that is BNS. Looking at the next sticky note, it's an ETF. It's very related to the cows ETF. It's just small cap cash cows. That's all we're looking at here. I did not get a fill on this name today, but looking at it, man, I wish I did. What did I say about this? I said 50 or 37.50 to 37.25. Solid entry to start. You got gaps to the downside that you can average in accordingly. But low of the day doesn't even get to my 37.50, which is where I was going to be interested. And obviously, pretty beautiful candle that's coming in right here. I'm going to be kicking myself for being very stingy. Looks like 37.58 is the low of this candle. Being really stingy for 8 cents, and now I'm going to be kicking myself as it's already 3% in the money. So kind of sucks when it plays out that way, but sometimes that's how it unfolds and you can't do anything about it. So yeah, I'm not gonna really kick myself for not getting that fill. And we will keep this on watch, as whenever you're taking out highs like this, especially something that could be looked at as a breakout, dating back to early April, and this actually dates back to previous lows back in February. So pretty solid look that this has going for it, and you probably have some sort of uptrend build right here. Is it going to be some sort of ascending channel like that? Man, I'm really going to hate myself if this wants to run up into the 40s. And, you even have higher upside potential as you have a 46 flat gap meeting in near the all-time high price. So, yeah, so other than that, I'm trying to think of anything that we talked about yesterday. We talked about the Carl Icahn Fund, and we cut this one, and it's probably going to be, yes, this one's going to hurt just a little bit, as uh, I was not ready early in the day. We talked about it right here. We were going to put a stop underneath. We ended up getting stopped out at the back end of the day. I should have had it on watch early in the day, as we talked about this uptrend. We talked about it. I mean, this hurts me to be talking about this and not having a position for this move, as we've had this uptrend identified since yesterday. We bought the bull flag of the consolidation period to that uptrend, and we had outs up to this point in time, and we retrace. What do we do? Look at this action off of this uptrend. So that one's gonna suck. Not having a position in that. Sometimes you can't play it exactly how you want to every single time. That's just part of trading. And I took the risk. I cut this knowing that we were still above an uptrend. I could have held it against me just a little bit. The low of the day, is still above my entry that we were buying it yesterday on the live stream. And it sucks. It sucks. I wish I could go back and change it, but nothing I can do about it now. Except maybe if we come back into 23 flats around this uptrend, it might be viable trade at that point. So, um, yeah, that's part of short-term trading, and that's a risk that I took. So now looking at, I could just go check and see if I got a fill, but it looks like we are about to get a fill. The high on this candle is 24s. Let's see if we can get a fill right here. Watch it live. 2 more pennies, and we got our fill at 38.25. 2 more pennies, and we got our fill. So just respecting the levels, guys. This is me just playing the course of my trading plan for this name. It'd be nice to say, yeah, FOMO in on a break at 36 and you're going to get a move like that. Yeah, it's easy to look back and say that. But I like to get the early entry and hold a piece for the dream, where I'd say your dream move is probably this gap fill. The next level, we're going to keep respecting these lows right here. I didn't mean to put that in right there. We're going to keep respecting these lows, so we're probably going to go on the ask at 38.90. It might need to pull back before then. So you can see how we're respecting these lows. We got our 25 fill. Even if it blasts through that, we're okay. But if it rejects it, we have some solid support. I would say this wick top meeting in with some levels could be a decent little look. But yeah, that is what we're looking at there. We did get an alert on Fubo. Let's go take a look at why I had the alert for Fubo. Didn't take the trade. All I did was put an alert over top of this wick high from yesterday. I could have just marketed in as soon as we got alerted. But looking at the 15-minute chart, you can see the price was already up at 87s. We had a little bit of consolidation down the 180s. It's just tough to know that you're going to get that follow through, but you know, if this wants to come back in, and what's important about this is you're getting nice increasing volume. One consolidation candle and you're setting new highs. There's probably some sort of uptrend build right there, so not the worst setup, but didn't take the trigger on it. So you know, that sucks. But looking forward, we're just going to keep an eye on G and S, as this is a newer position, kind of giving up this little uptrend that we had. Whether it's set perfectly or not, maybe it's supposed to be set more so like this. Sort of like this. We'll see if this wants to play out. It's not really giving us the move that we're looking for. Looking at the daily, leaving that wick, it looks like we're going to have increased volume on today's candle. Is this a wick top? As it put a wick into that 50 period, we might have to retrace down to some levels, 96. It probably has some sort of uptrend like this, where this could be a tight consolidation candle. And we had an alert on BuzzFeed yesterday that never alerted us. Now the last time I had an alert go through, I kicked myself for not taking the trade. So let's see if there's any weight here. And the reason why I set that alert right there is just for that gap fill. So I wanted to see if we got any rejection off of that gap fill. Clear strength, you get your positive break on this nice volume that comes through, and now could be potentially building some sort of U shape. So I'd already be telling myself that if I take this trade, I'm going to want to respect that level. My breakout potentially is 70 cent. So from this entry, we're looking at my first out up to around 5%. So we are going to continue. Let's go into a 15-minute and take a look at this. I can see on my alert we get the volume increase. Still light volume. You can see the initial longs getting in right here. We refill the gap, and now we're kind of holding this uptrend right here. You can see the uptrend a lot better on this 15-minute chart. Intraday gap up might keep me away from this trade. We'll see if it can get rejected, trade down, and we might try this uptrend when the time comes. Looking at a trade from yesterday as well, we were looking at FRZA. We were able to take, once we had the confirmation that we weren't looking at a descending channel, sort of like this, we got a little bit more confident to take the trade at 76. We had some fills to the upside, and we had a reload. Ended up getting stopped out at 19s. This was on the live stream. Stopped out at 19s. It was a good stop, but the uptrend actually holding right here. We still have a gap fill that we could be ended up wicking into around 293. Do we even want to see that gap get filled? It's tough to say. But this is kind of what I was talking about with AI. This is why we wanted to respect this level. You always respect these previous lows. I feel anybody who's interested in shorting or taking a fill or trimming their position, you never know when somebody's just going to have an order like I did. Now, my order obviously didn't have much size, not enough size to move the ticker, obviously, but just respecting some levels. And if this wants to retrace back into middle 37s, we have this wick high that we're going to expect to hold as support, and we'll see if that has any weight to it at all. Looking at Fubo, this is, I'm going to hate myself for not taking this trade. But let's go see if there's anything else. I think it's worth mentioning that I bought the Canadian Bank this morning, and the reason why is because I felt I had some good entries off this 28 level on Bank of America, and it's kind of playing the course. Strength, holding very good. We got the dividend out of the way. We don't have to worry about any sell-offs off after the dividend. Anybody short trying to get that pop to the downside from that dividend. You know, potential cover day. You had a consolidation where longs have an opportunity to get into the position, and now we're kind of getting that breakthrough. This gap was filled on the money. Now we don't have to worry about that gap. This is why I find it very interesting that, hey, anybody short off this gap, now they're out of the money. Let's see if we can get an extended up to this 29.75, give or take, and let's see if we can even get more bullish up to this 30.50, where we're going to be interested. FVRR, this was another name that we've talked about before. Obviously, it's tough to get early entries down here. We simply just liked it because it was holding this low support right here. Sort of right near these lows around 26. We just bought support and we were going to run a stop on it. This was the live stream back on Thursday. Getting some good follow through. Is it worthy of maybe taking a trim? Potentially. Probably have some sort of ascending uptrend. Coming into some lows as well. Actually, we were able to get through that. Might have some resistance right in there. So could probably respect it. But I think I got a pretty early entry on this name. Getting close to that positive break. So I think we're going to hold tight on that. Looking at the NASDAQ. A lot of green names. Nothing really to brag about with the NASDAQ. We've talked about this gap fill over here many times. Here's our 702. Here's the top of this resistance. I'm sure there's one last retracement in this level. I think we can go talk about oil. Oil, we got the gap up. We retraced down to the gap. Traded in some levels around 70 flat. Now catching a little bit of a bid. Actually green on the day. A lot of good volume. Hold of support. If I was setting an alert, I'd probably be looking over these wicks. So here's some opening candles of the day. Kind of test it, hold the level, and now green engulfing through the level. Breaking through these lows, wicks into it a couple times early. Now we're breaking through it. Let's just clear everything on our chart right here. I think looking at the daily gives a better picture of how this support has continued to hold right there. We've talked about the true breakout being over top this wick. A little bit with the big gap up. I gotta see over 75. I gotta see over 75. So this could be early signs for can we actually build some strength in oil for once. Another part that I like about oil is you set a low, you set a low, you set a higher low as well. So 3 higher lows correlating with the price of oil. Can we get some higher highs put in? We will see. And if we're able to get over 75, I think that's only the tip of the iceberg, where your true breakout's probably going to be over this 84. If it wants to be very bullish, let's see oil over 84. Looking at anything else, let's go back to the AI trade. Yeah, pretty hard rejection, almost $1 down from that cut, and actually starting to wick briefly, just briefly. A lot of good volume. Anytime I see a lot of good volume like this, just switch over to an hour chart. There's your increased volume on the breakout. So if this was a bull flag right here, when you break that top, you want to see here's your initial move. The volume exceeds that, passes the rules, so we might need an hour of consolidation. We might need a red candle, a whole hour of red candle to come in before we actually even get a higher move. But all in all, I'm not interested in cutting down here at 37s when we just got a fill up at 38.25. But that's kind of what I was looking at with AI. Yeah, banks really catching a bid. Banks are really catching a bid. They're starting to show a lot of strength. GSIT, this was a trade. You know, we talked about the scenario. If it wanted to fill that gap, yes, you could have bought the gap, but that could be the start of a further down move. Obviously, we held the uptrend, got a nice move. Does this need to pull back in? You know, I'd want to see 650 hold as pretty good support. Here's your previous high. You wick towards it. You hold a base of support near that. Yeah, nice move there. GNS, still haven't got alerted on this. Let's go to a 15-minute chart. There's a lot of hocus pocus in there. Let's just clear that up. Until this BMR is showing a lot of strength. I just think that this needs more time. You got some early signs of, I like how if this was a bull flag, the volume exceeds the high candle right here. But this wick shows a good part of selling as well. So I'm not going to try and force into an entry. If I was going to set an alert, I'd want to see over top of this 295. But then you also have this gap fill that we're going to need to worry about at 307. So it's got some levels to take out. Holding positive strength for now. Looking at the volume, looks like we are going to get some increased green volume. I like the shave green candle. This coming one day after we fill this gap right here. So we filled the gap yesterday, shave bottom, boom, green candle. Decent look, just need a little bit more information on this one. If this wants to be a retracement, you know, my breakout level here is up to that 340. I'd say 340 is probably going to be that. If you got an entry, I would trim off those 340s. After that, respect that low, meeting in with a 382, which also meets in with the previous low as well. So this is going to be a sell window for sure. If you're lucky, you can get a move up to this gap fill up here. Gaps down, meeting in with my half. So I think this has upside up to, you know, 490 potentially. We'll start with that. 73%. That would be quite the move. Nvidia, I'm not interested in really talking about Nvidia as it is extremely overvalued in my eyes. I wouldn't touch this stock with a 20-foot pole unless I was shorting it. But I would be surprised if this wick was the top on Nvidia, all kidding aside. And being as unbiased as I possibly can be, even though I believe it's overvalued, you have really good strength. You got some nice levels that are coming in, nice sideways consolidation into those levels. I mean, this just kind of reminds me of Meta. We can go look over at Meta where we had this nice sideways consolidation. You ended up taking out those highs. And even over here, trade into some levels, you trade below some levels, sideways consolidation, you try to push up, you take out those highs. If Nvidia is going to be bearish, it's going to retrace down to that gap, and who knows what happens from there, but that's a long ways away. This is why I wouldn't touch it personally. BMR over 3, you know, potentially. Looks like you just got that over 3. Yeah, so closing this candle, that's pretty solid move. Right in, if I was putting an alert, that's where we were putting that alert. Maybe at this 340, you have a gap fill at 330, give or take. Looks like we got, no, that's just an intraday gap. Where was that gap fill at? Oh yeah, that's just the start of it. So yeah, now that gap's filled, you know, this is probably going to keep blasting. We'll see. Intel. We talked about Intel yesterday. We said if we can reclaim 30s, I think this name looks really good. We talked about it. Even though it broke 30s, even though it broke that 30 level, we're still holding above the downtrend, the descending channel that we talked about, and now pretty solid move that we're getting. Looking over to the 15-minute chart, nothing but green on this. If I wanted to take that into consideration, nice increased volume on the first 2 hours. We just opened up this candle. Does it need to pull back in the 31s? It was able to break through 31 flat. But this gives you a pretty solid look at this descending channel that we had. Nice bull flag consolidation. Boom. When it breaks that, we retest it, and now we're getting another move right there. So pretty good look on Intel. IPR, we talked about this a few times. Looks like we're testing the top end of the channel. I'm surprised I didn't have an alert on this at 69. Does this end up wicking into this downtrend? Who knows if this is set correctly? It might need to be set more so like this, or we could be inside of that as well. A lot of wicks into this. Not many to the downside, but there's a few different ways that you could set that channel. One thing that I do hold into a lot of consideration is getting positive strength right there. So it could be something worth watching there. Let's set an alert for 71. I still think a trade is valid for CXAI. We talked about this yesterday. We said, where were we yesterday? Right in this candle right there is when we got alerted. One consolidation candle. No, it was this candle. We got alerted over top of this wick high. Didn't present us an entry. Let's see what our retracement looks like on this. Clear rejection of 618. Has a nice bull flag going right there. And one part that I do like about that is you're able to take out this wick high on the opening candle, it looks like. And we have a few candles here. So here's our trading day. You gap down, you fill the gap. When I see a gap fill right there, I would be setting an alert right here. You push it with green engulfing candle, and now we're trying to retest some areas right here. Nice decreasing volume, light volume. We have 10 minutes left on this candle. This could be a trade I'm interested in right here. Let's clear out the drawings. Looking at our daily candle. If this is a U shape, I'd be looking for a break over top of probably 1330, yesterday's high wick right there. And it also kind of meets in right here. I think we might try a trade here. We can set stops if it breaks underneath of these wicks right here. So we're looking at, let's try and get this as close to 1160 as possible. Is this some sort of downtrend that we have in here though? It's possible. Looking at this, potentially a descending channel. So if this goes against us, we are not going to want to be holding this all the way down to 8. We got 9 minutes left on this candle. Let's give this candle a little bit of time, and we will go from there. Man, this thing's ripping, how? It's a damn shame Hibbett didn't want to keep dropping. I think this is an early sign of an uptrend build right here. As long as it's over 2, you'll be holding. I still think that this is respectable right here. Personal opinion, of course, but build that gap. You know, I would say that this 490 is more reasonable at the true gap down that doesn't get filled. You know, I thought there was something in here, but just previous lows right at a 4 flat level, already wicking up to it. I'll leave that up to you. You got a different entry than me, so I don't have an entry. So not enough volume here. Just a lot of chop on this BuzzFeed. I don't think that's going to be doable. Kazim, tap that 380. See if we can get any follow through on that. Let's take this out. I'd say Geo does have a solidified uptrend that's building right here. Here's your opening candle. Gaps up, fills the gap. How about that? Looking at a monthly. I think you got to go to a monthly on this one. Is there some sort of uptrend that we have like that? So we're talking about a little baby uptrend, but the bigger picture, down in those 5s, that's where we'd really like that to move down to. I think based off of what I was looking at right there, I'm going to say, here we are now, 11 CXAI, down into this 1160. Let's watch this a little bit. We'll see if any buyers are going to come in here. These wick tops in an 1140. I don't like that direct correlation off of that downtrend right there. Let's see if some buyers want to come in on this. Your entries are 225 and 280. Yeah, I mean, you're sitting pretty. Big volume coming in right there. I'd say if this had a chance, I would be marking this wick high right here. 275. I'd look for that to hold. Let's go ahead and put an alert on this. This GNS is probably going to go against us. I'm going to go ahead and put a stop in. No chance I want to hold this down to 95. We'll think about this uptrend. Oh, I just noticed for Kiva, we're gonna have to take a piece off of this, I think. Approaching this gap fill. I think we are gonna respect this gap right here, and we're gonna take a piece off. Yeah, other than that, I think I'm just gonna kind of sit the sidelines. Coming up on lunch, everything's moving pretty good. I don't want to force myself into any trades. We're already sitting in what looks to be like a losing trade. Trying to hold 103s right here. Doesn't look like we're gonna get any follow through. That red volume coming in right there. Can this hold? Maybe. Yeah, I just not seeing anything that really interests me. I thought this CXAI was potential. Trying to hold this 350 level. You have a nice positive break on increased volume, but relatively smaller volume compared to, this is where I'd say the longs re-entered. So the longs really started getting in around this 10 yesterday. We retraced down, we hold this uptrend. Does it need to pull back in for it to be a trade? Maybe. It's possible. But other than that, yeah, I think that's going to call it for a live stream. We will be back at 2 o'clock to recap anything and go from there. So appreciate anyone for tuning in, and we will see you at 2 o'clock.